Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be covering the patch 13.3 top lane tier list, so let's get into it. To begin with, there were a couple of nerfs to top laners. The main ones hitting things like Zac, Kazante, Kale got buffed, so that was something else as well. Trundle also got buffed, and we're going to move some stuff around, so let's get into it. I'm going to get rid of Kassadin. His play rate's low, and he just doesn't really have a place in the top lane as much anymore. He was really strong for a while, which gave him the ability to play the top lane, but with him being nerfed, with the first batch being a moderately small nerf, and then the second batch being quite sizable actually, I'm going to move him down and out of the top lane tier list. He's not played a lot, and he was fairly niche to begin with. Another one I'm going to get rid of is Shyvana. Shyvana isn't played top really anymore. She's pretty bad at the best of times and can only really be used as a counter to GP. Past that, you're not going to see this champion, so I'm going to move it out of the tier list. And the final one I'm going to move out is Malzahar. Malzahar also isn't played a lot in the top lane tier list. I think there's better champions in the top lane which do what he wants to do. And if he received buffs or was slightly stronger, I would keep him in, such as Anivia. Anivia is actually played less than Malzahar by a very small amount, but Anivia, in my eyes, is a really strong champion and can control top lane quite nicely, so I'm going to leave her up here. I'm going to add a couple of champions in, Tristana being the first one. I'm going to put her in B tier. This is a speculative kind of placement. I think Tristana top will gain popularity. I think it will actually maybe start seeing some pro play as well. And I'm going to put it in B tier for the moment, as we don't really know where it's going to land. I think it can be an A tier champion, and I think it can even push into S. She's a safe champion who does a lot of damage and has good mobility. So there's definitely value in that. I'm also going to put Rammus up here. Rammus is gaining popularity in the top lane. He got buffed, hotfix buffed because he was really heavily nerfed when he was like overwhelmingly strong in the jungle. Now that's not as prominent. He's actually back up to being quite strong again. So I'm going to put him in the B tier. Well, I have to see kind of how this falls. He's kind of similar to Malphite. I'd still kind of prefer to have a Malphite. I think Malphite has more lane pressure, but Rammus does work. And I think if with the ADC heavy meta we've got going on at the moment, Rammus does actually have a place. And then what I'm going to put up here is Annie, kind of for the same reason Kassadin used to be on here. Annie is gaining popularity in the top lane. She's really strong at the moment. She'll probably get hit by another hotfix. Oh, not another nerf. She has been hotfix nerf. This is placement after the hotfix nerf. Otherwise, she'd probably be S tier. She was really strong. She's brought down to a more reasonable level, but she will be S tier in the mid lane, B tier in the top lane. ASO, I'm also going to put in B tier. He did just receive a hotfix nerf as well. He was probably an A fringe S tier champ. I'm going to put him in B. The nerfs don't actually hit him as much as people will think, but he's definitely going to be weaker and feel those. Lee Sin, I'm going to put in D tier. Don't play this champion in the top lane, please. It's kind of bad. I get, like, Lee Sin's a fun champion, but the reward you get for playing Lee Sin compared to a lot of other bruisers in the top lane just isn't worth it. He struggles to find as many lethal thresholds. The reason this is being played is because people will be reminded that Lee Sin E Max used to be really strong in the top lane. I don't think this is going to be the same power level he used to be. Gordrink isn't as strong as an item. And in turn, I don't think Lee Sin really has that much of a place. There is a chance that he raises when like people figure out his builds and less people are playing him, but the good players stay on, kind of thing. And I'm going to have another champion in the F tier. Replacing Shyvana as Alistar. Don't play it. It's bad. Really, really bad. It's like a 42% win rate champion. It might work in some cases as like a counter pick or an answer, but for the most part, you can't blind this champion. You have to mainly use it as an answer. There will be better answers. His damage isn't particularly high. There is times where his damage can feel meaningful, and I'm not saying that top lane Alistar can't work. It's just people haven't really figured out what they want to build yet, and overall, he's not as good as a lot of other champions. So I'm just going to leave him in the F tier. There is a chance he could jump up into the D tier when less people are playing him, and those who refine his play style, itemize correctly, pick him accordingly, can push his win rate up, something like that. First champ I'm going to move up is Renekton. This is Glass Cannon Renekton. If you're playing Gold Drink or Renekton, you are trolling in solo queue. It is not very good. Prowler's Claw before Glass Cannon build is the way to go. It gives him a lot more value as a one-shot kind of champion. His Dominus gives him enough health and allows him to get into the fight, do the damage, get the lethal, and then get out. Prowler's Claw also gives him a lot of entry, which is why it's really valuable on him. Yorick is another champion I'm going to move up. There is a Oceanic Yorick player who recently came over to EU and Giga stomped like everyone. This Prowler's Claw Yorick build has gained popularity, and in turn, I'm actually going to put him up a tier. I think it gets rid of a lot of Yorick's weaknesses, and I think that having value can actually push Yorick up a tier. So I'm going to move him up. Cho'Gath is another champ I'm going to move up. Cho'Gath is definitely a lot stronger. He isn't doing as great with the itemization. Heartsteel is pretty bad. You as much as Heartsteel is Cho'Gath's and Sion's best item, it feels bad using this item as you are just continuously stacking health. I honestly prefer something like an Abyssal or a Sunfire's first into maybe a Radiant Virtue, but Heartsteel does perform quite well on these two champs. They have been buffed up to a level where it can be run as their best. So these two champs are going to be moved up. Sion is going to be moved up 2 tiers actually. Sion, with his buffs in recent patches, has actually found a better place in the top lane. Sunfire's Rush is the best way to go about playing him. If you can't really Sunfire's Rush into something like your AP matchups, then you can go Heartsteel. You're not often going to see Sion into a lot of AP matchups. He does lose quite a few of them. Things like Gwen and Mordekaiser do beat Sion quite hard. Singed also beats Sion quite hard. Udyr, another champion who beats Sion quite hard. A lot of these AP champs either have good percentage health damage or they can itemize demonics, which is really strong into Sion because he's a health stacker. Riven, I'm going to move up. Riven itemization is pretty bad, but because Cleaver got buffed, you can kind of work around it. She's not as strong as she used to be. The itemization being worse is actually hurting her quite badly. Only holding around a 50% win rate isn't great for someone like Riven. She's usually higher, and that's usually where Riot want her, so I'm going to put her in the B tier. I do think if you're good at Riven, though, she can be an S tier champ. She's very pilot-driven. So, but for the most part, I'm going to leave her in B tier because if the average player, well, above average player is trying to play her, you're not going to find the same results as a lot of these other champions. Cassante is going to go down a tier. They nerfed him pretty heavily this patch. A lot of his knockups got nerfed in duration, and his W also got nerfed in duration. It makes it a lot harder to pull people under your own turret as Cassante, plus the bonus resist loss on R hurt him quite badly as well. It does a lot to make him more squishy and killable in these moments where he pops R early. So he's a lot more punishable and struggles to find as many picks as he used to. He's not terrible, but he's going to probably continue to fall in solo queue. I don't think he's going to find a good footing in solo queue for a while. I think he's going to be very pro skewed. Graves isn't finding a particularly large amount of success in the top lane at the moment. His win rate is pretty bad. His overall play rate's pretty bad. His itemization isn't doing great. The Ravenous changes didn't really benefit him that much when they continue to nerf it and adjust it slightly. So overall, I'm going to put him down to the D tier. I think there are better champs, and you're not really going to be picking Graves at the moment. Someone like Gnar does do a better job than Graves, even though I don't particularly like Gnar that much. There are places where you can play Gnar. Karma is the other champ which I'm going to move. Radiant being nerfed with the cooldown going up on it, of activation on it, but gold cost going up on it as well. That combined with the CDR being lost on the item, all these really hurt Karma. And Karma was one of the best abusers of it in the game. She could really easily abuse its slow cooldown, the health gain on it, the CDR gain on it, the health regen, the cheap cost. All these really benefited Karma. And now that that's been nerfed to stop her from being able to abuse it as easily, she's not going to be anywhere near as good. Trundle being buffed, I thought maybe there would be a place where he moves up into the C tier, something like a W max Trundle, but we're not really seeing that at the moment. Trundle is pretty good as an answer into AD matchups and tanks usually, but he's kind of struggling to find a footing at the moment, so I'm gonna leave him in D tier. There is a chance if he gets buffed again, or if itemization gets slightly better for him, that he can be a B tier, maybe an A tier champion, but for the moment, I'm gonna leave him in the D tier. So, I want to know your thoughts. Have you got any opinions on what might be better, what might be slightly worse? And if you enjoy the content, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.